is now the biggest change that I think has happened to the tiny garden since obviously I took out the main bed there, and I get to show you why I've really fallen in love with my space. Hey everyone, a very warm welcome back to the channel. It has been a little while, hasn't it, since I've uploaded a video. I have been so busy between the home garden and the allotment. It's just been full tilt gardening, but I've made so much progress. I've made some big changes to the home garden and I have finished my container garden. So I thought, what better way to share the updates and the progress than to do a garden tour with you and show you what I've been up to. I am really pleased with how things are looking, and I feel like although I was missing the middle bed that was in the main growing space, and obviously I took that out in winter, I have just fallen back in love with my tiny garden and I cannot wait to show you how things are looking. So as with all garden tours, we're going to start right at the top of the garden and work our way around. So as we head up to the top of the garden, we have the obligatory potato corner, which I had last year. I'm doing containers again for some of these. Now I know I have so many potatoes up at the allotment. I think I've got about 18 in total. These ones here are specifically blight resistant ones in containers. I have 5 here in total, and I'm hoping that they are going to grow more seed potatoes, and then I can share those with my friends up at the allotment, because Sarpamira blight resistant potatoes are really hard to come by and they're really expensive. So hopefully putting them in containers, they'll grow the perfect size seed potatoes that I can share. They are looking absolutely beautiful. The flowers have just started to come on them, and I've got a couple of different growth stages here with them, and one of these is actually a mixed bucket, so it has half Sarpamira and half British Queen, just because it was an overwintered variety and I wanted them to obviously kind of produce at the same time. So I thought the British Queen would catch up quickly to the growth that the Sarpamira had actually put on. So a different range of kind of growth stages there. So there's one that's only just popping through the soil there, which will give me a slightly later harvest. Obviously we have the ones that are flowering around the corner, and yeah, that overall the foliage on these is the best I have ever seen it. Now this is obviously my saved seed, so I don't know if that helped it, or is it just we're having a blinding end of spring, start of summer. So before I take you down bean aisle, I wanted to show you my raspberries, which I think are looking so beautiful. They have, I was hoping that they had some proper pink on them, but one has just started to blush. So whilst I can't show you some juicy pink ones, there is definitely a lot of fruit coming on these. They are looking absolutely beautiful. Seedling corner is vibrant as ever. I think a lot of this stuff is actually going to go up to the allotment. So I have a lot of squashes, I have some extra salad, I have my sweet garlics that are doing absolutely amazingly. They have put on so much growth in the last couple of weeks. Some more squashes. This is like a Queensland squash, so an heirloom kind of variety. Some beautiful kales, some more salad. I've got a load of brassicas, only dreaming that they could get out of their containers, but the ground, I haven't got it ready for them yet, but I do think I know where they're going to go. I have some more salad and some more flowers just as backup. This is my only sowing that I managed to survive of basil. Now it's put on a load of growth since the weather has warmed up, but all in all, basil is just a bugbear of mine. Basil and carrots are just the two hardest things I find to grow. Some more salady bits of beets, some more herbs, and then this is a mixed tray of salad, lettuce, flowers, and at the very back is a second sowing of celery that I did. So the celery in the little tray that I sowed here was sown about 6 to 8 weeks, I think roughly after my first sowing of celery that's in the ground at the allotment. And I'm hoping that this will be a slightly later variety harvest for me, because I do find when it gets to the peak of the summer, no matter how bad the summer is, that it just tends to go a little bit bitter when it's been in the ground for too long. So although if it rains, it'll be absolutely fine, and if we have a drab summer, this is a crop that I find really reliable for those like uncertain summers that we're not guaranteed to have the hottest ones. So the warm season stuff is definitely questionable, but stuff like celery I have found does really well in Ireland. So I'm hoping maybe to get a slightly like earlier harvest, and then with this one a slightly later harvest. And I'm going to spin you around now and show you my beans that are growing behind me. This is bean aisle, and things are looking really, really strong. The first few flowers have just started coming on my mange too, which is lovely, and I think they're such a beautiful coloured flower. I just think they're so beautiful, this beautiful like mauve, purple, blue colour. I think they're so nice. And then the pods themselves are actually yellow, which is kind of cool. So they'll get obviously a bit bigger than that, and then I will just have them as mange too. I won't actually let the peas grow themselves. And then down here is the second variety of mange too I've got growing, which is called a Shiraz. So I believe that's going to be a purple pod, and it's definitely a bushier style of growth than the green ones that I have. And I've planted the same amount, there's 4 per sort of like wigwam. So yeah, massive amounts of growth on the Shiraz. So I'm interested now to see how that actually turns out. And then just in between the 2 wigwams at the front here was a little space that I've popped in a little butternut. So this is an early butternut variety. The idea of me popping that in between the frame is kind of taken from the Three Sisters idea. So obviously you put the squash in, the beans and the pumpkins. Now I don't have any beans, and I don't like pole beans, and I don't have any corn. So instead I've gone with my mange too as the bean type thing growing up, and then I've gone for the early butternut to grow along the bottom and keep the bottom cool. So I'm taking it kind of that idea, so trying to do like my own version of like say Two Sisters in the growing. So hopefully it works. And then to finish off bean aisle is my broad beans. Obviously I absolutely love broad beans. They have just actually started to produce. So I've got some various size pods on here at the minute. So I'm going to let this side of the harvest go completely to seed. I'm obviously going to eat some to have, but I also want some to save seed so I can plant them again, because I have like 2 or 3 left in the packet, and I grow broad beans every single year. It's something to look forward to, something to plant in the winter, and then they just burst out of the soil. They take no maintenance whatsoever, and you can harvest them all different sizes and make all different things. So I'm really looking forward to making a broad bean hummus and a broad bean falafel this year. So that concludes bean aisle. I think it's looking so good, and I'll probably top these just about here. So I'm gonna let them get a little bit bigger, and then I'll top them, and then they'll be like flush with the wall, and then they'll cover the wall. I think that'll look so nice. It'll be a beautiful little backdrop, and the flowers on these are just so beautiful. They're just such a joy. I love broad beans. I think they're just so underrated, and I think more people should grow them. So that concludes the top end of the garden. I'm going to show you my flower bed next, and then bring you into what is now the biggest change that I think has happened to the tiny garden since obviously I took out the main bed there, and I get to show you why I've fallen in love with my space. So that's a little kind of shot of what it looks like as you're looking up to the very top of the garden. And I obviously have the flower bed that's opposite the broad beans, and it's looking a little bit unruly. There's lots in here. I haven't completely chopped everything back. The lilies have gone over, but I'm trying to leave them in there as long as possible before I snip off the greenery, so they can get as much energy and boost so they come back next year hopefully and kind of naturalize into that bed. But in between, obviously I have some lilies, as you can see here, popping out. They are just going so strong. I split the bulbs, and these are kind of the smaller ones, but there are little buds on them. So I do think they are actually going to put on a little show. This one definitely will put on a show. But these were eeny beeny, teeny little miniature bulbs. So I'm really surprised they've actually come up like that. And then in here is a mix of things. So I have a beautiful little kind of sporadic sort of like woodland planting is what I've done of my little pansies that are here. So these are the wild Italian, and you can see they actually kind of go in like a little sort of mini drift, and then they go up towards the base of the cherry tree. So I thought that was kind of like a little woodland vibe with the kind of chives there as well. So I kind of enjoyed kind of playing around with that, because I've never really done masses of flowers before. So this is like throw it all in and see how it works. So then I have a couple of dahlias in here. So this was all grown from seed. I have no idea what colour they're going to be. I have another dahlia that's here, and obviously these lilies. Yeah, these lilies will obviously be all cut back and taken out at some point. I have a couple of snapdragons in there. I have some cosmos that is due to flower. So everything is looking like it's putting on some great growth. My sweet peas have come back. I mean, they were looking dire a couple of weeks ago, but they are just so green now, and they're starting to climb, which is so beautiful. I'm so happy with that. And I do have a little rogue potato in the back of this bed, and I'm not really sure what to do with it. So you can see right in the back there is actually a potato, so I might just leave it, see does it produce anything, and go from there. And then bringing you around to the very top of the bed, a couple more things. This, I didn't plant it, I think it's a gladioli, I have no idea how I got in there. I have some oregano here at the front. I'm hoping that actually flowers and maybe cascades down, but I'm not really sure how that growth pattern will go. But it's a really nice bright green, and I get to use it in cooking. And I have a salvia at the back that is just about to go into bloom. You can see that one's got a beautiful fleck of purple in it. And in the very back there is a little straw flower. So he's not yet ready to bloom, but he has put on so much growth, and it's definitely the biggest straw flower that I have. And then I have little baby seedlings popped in here, there and everywhere. And in all honesty, I really don't actually know how this is going to turn out. I've just popped all my seedlings in where I can, watering it as much as I can and feeding it and just seeing how it goes. This is going to be like a little wild flower bed, and then maybe as I get better with the flowers and the colours, maybe I'll do a scheme or something one year. But I kind of like the unruly sort of like woodland sort of look that it looks like at the minute. And over in this corner of the garden is a semi-informal little flower arrangement, which I'm really happy with because it kind of distracts from the straight lines of the other beds that I have here. I have a range of things in here, some pansies, some dahlias, I have some lilies, and I have a beautiful little fig tree that was gifted to me from my plot neighbour. I'm undecided where that's actually going to go, but it should be okay in there for a little while whilst it gets a bit stronger. And I have some other perennials growing in here, so I have some lupins and some gladioli. So I think that is going to look so beautiful once it jumps into life and blooms. And just off to the right of my container flower garden is my pallet colour bed, which I planted up with some veggies there a couple of weeks ago, and it's absolutely burst into life. So I've got a couple of lettuce varieties in there with some silver skin onions and some spring onions. Over to the right I have some chicory, some more silver skin onions and some beets, and they're looking so healthy. In front I have some parsnips. I got some fantastic germination on those, so I'm so pleased. And to the right hand side of the parsnips are my carrots. I am so looking forward to harvesting these. This is the second sowing of carrots that I have. I do have some in a window box around the corner, and it looks like I will be getting some carrots this year, which I'm super excited for. And then in the two beds down to the side on the left I have some radicchio, spinach, lettuce and more spring onions. And then on the right hand side of the planter I've actually popped in some blueberries. I have taken out all the soil in the bottom of here, backfilled it with ericaceous soil. I've given them an ericaceous feed as well, and hopefully that will give it the boost that it needs in order for it to thrive. The blueberry has started to put on a little bit of fruit, which is lovely to see. And just hiding in the back there is my little hydrangea. It's perfect for container gardens. It's just putting on a few little buds, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what that looks like when it comes into bloom. It's perfect for anybody that's looking to grow a hydrangea but think that hydrangeas are too big. This is called Little Quickfire and is perfect for containers. And as you can see, for the first time in 3 years, I can actually get around my tiny garden, which is amazing. And behind me, I've obviously moved my plum tree, and I have put in a load of tomatoes. So I have 11 individual selected varieties that I'm going to grow this season in my garden at home, and I'm going to show you each one of them right now. So starting left to right, we have Black Shadow, Tim's Taste of Paradise, Orange Accordion, Brad's Atomic Grape, Costoluto Florentino. Moving past the plum tree, we have Tomato Later. That's actually a bushing variety, so I'm hoping it comes out of the shade and sprawls. Barry's Crazy Cherry, which I'm so excited about this year. We have the standard red cherry that is desperate for water because I've only just potted that up. In the corner over here we have pink boar. We have a mini San Marzano over here, and this last one is, I can't even remember, Pink Bumble, that one. So I was very kindly gifted a range of those tomatoes from my good friend Robin, as you all know, and my good friend Ali from My Rusty Garden. So a big thank you to those girls, and I will keep you all updated with what they will look like as they grow, what the fruits look like. I'm so excited for them. So that's 11 different varieties. Last year I only grew one, and that was the red cherry, so that's why I've obviously picked that again, because hopefully we have a good season. But at least if we have a semi-bad season, then the red cherries should produce. And I'm thinking the mini Marzano will also produce as well, because I think that's a quick kind of small tomato in general. So really, really excited about that. I also harvested my onions earlier today as well. They are looking absolutely wonderful. Only 2 of them bolted. So I'm definitely going to grow those again as well this year. So they are called Shinkinyu. So I was going to save the seeds from the bolted onions, but then I realised, like, oh, I think I might be trying to keep the wrong traits. So I have some seeds left over. I'm going to buy some more. They were from Irish Seed Savers if anybody was interested. And this is what the bed looks like now. So I've got a few little fruits on there. I'm really hoping that they plump up, because they are on the small side. So there's 3 in there in total, and they were my own strawberries. I think these plants here are 3 years old. And then I have 2 in the back just there on the window ledge that were runners that I took, and the fruit on these is actually bigger, even though the containers are smaller, which I find really quite interesting. So I'm definitely going to take some runners from here. I'm going to take as many as I can, but obviously with them producing fruit, I don't know how many runners they're actually going to produce, but I hope to make as many as I can so that I can obviously plant more in this garden, replace the 3 that are there that are 3 years old, because obviously their productions are going to slow down, and then obviously make some dedicated fruit up at the allotment as well. But it feels so good to actually walk around this space, because this time last year I couldn't get round here. I obviously had a bed right where I was standing right now, and I was feeling really like down in the dumps about it a little bit, because I took obviously that bed out to redesign the garden and add the flower bed and make a more conscious effort to balance my veg and my flowers, but I'd obviously taken out my main growing bed, and I felt like my spring wasn't that great, but I think that puts it down to the weather. And all in all, I have just fallen back in love with this space. I'm so excited to be out here, and I just literally come out here and stare at my plants. My neighbours must think I'm an absolute nutter. I'll be in my pyjamas drinking tea, just standing here with the dog or looking at stuff. So I definitely think a little seating area or something here, just so I can sit amongst my plants and admire them and just relax, and I think that will just make me the happiest ever. But all in all, I'm thrilled. I really hope the containers work, because I've never grown tomatoes in containers before. As much as I'm a small space grower when I'm at home, I've never actually done them in containers. So I really need to keep on top of the watering, and I really need to be mindful of how much feed I'm giving them. I think I've put in a good amount of chicken manure into those, just to give it a big boost of like green leafy growth, just so they can get off. And I also gave them a liquid feed of seaweed, homemade seaweed feed, just so there was no transplant shock when they went in. Next week's video is going to be up at the allotment. I am going to be showing you everything I've been up to there. I've been so busy that I actually twisted my knee last week, so I've been hobbling around the last week waiting for that to recover. But thank you so much for walking around my garden with me. Appreciate each and every one of you that watch my videos, and I will see you next week up at the plot. See you then. Bye.